Hi, my name is Dan Wentworth, and my wife is Nancy Wentworth, and I'd like to share a time in my life when God helped me to work through some of my own spiritual immaturity in our marriage. Nancy and I met at Multnomah School of the Bible. We were married in 1974. We have 3 adult children, 4 grandchildren, and 3 great-grands. In 1982, we moved to Dayton, Oregon, to start a church planting ministry. And in 1983, we moved to Dundee, where we've lived ever since. Our marriage issues from there were from the beginning, but we began to surface under the stress of our church planting ministry. I focused on ministry, and Nancy wound up carrying out the heaviest load of taking care of our children, 3 foster children, not to mention her responsibilities in church. We were both under a lot of stress in those days, and our marriage began to break down. We didn't talk. If we did, it turned into a fight. We slept in the same bed, but we both turned our own ways and didn't face each other. We even considered divorce. After 13 years, I resigned from our church and we began to attend Grace Baptist here in Newberg in 1995. And we tried marriage counseling many times, but it never worked out. We just had too much anger and bitterness, and we could never make any progress. Finally, we met with the Grace Church pastor Larry Smithwick and his wife Sherry, and they were able to help us. And this sounds really crazy, but I blamed Nancy for everything wrong in our marriage. At that time, I believed that she was the issue of all the problems and not me. At one time, our pastor Larry asked me a question, and his question was this: Dan, let's assume Nancy's as bad as you say she is. Yes. Okay, and let's assume that she's never going to change. Okay. Well, I have one question for you. Okay, what's that? When are you going to just take responsibility for yourself? And that made me angry because I felt Pastor Larry was turning the tables just to stick up for Nancy. So I was angry for a long time, for a couple, 3 weeks after that. But at the same time, I was miserable, because I really wanted to serve the Lord. I really wanted God to use my life, but my spiritual life, was in a total mess. When I would come to church, I would come in 5 minutes late, go up in the balcony, sit there by myself, listen to the music and the message, and then in the closing song, I would slip out. I didn't have the emotional energy to try to be friendly and to play nice with everyone. So I began to wonder, I wonder what it would be like if I did start taking responsibility for myself. And I decided to give it a try and see what would happen. So I prayed and asked God to please help me, because I cannot control my own anger. I can't control my own bitterness. I want God to help me to be more kind and loving and patient, no matter what Nancy's response. I want to support Nancy no matter what it is that she needs or wants to do. And so I started, and I wasn't praying, but I would give her compliments, and I was always rebuffed. I gave her cards and notes, she'd tear them up, throw them in my face. If I gave her flowers, she stomped on them and threw them in the trash. But God was helping me. He was helping me to stop thinking about myself and feeling sorry for myself, and my focus could be more on Nancy and her needs. And I know this sounds really strange, but it was a great sense of joy inside of being obedient to God. And so over a period of time, Nancy began to change. This in turn caused her to start trying to be more kind towards me, less angry, and then God began to slowly help us both to restore our marriage. And so today we do much better. And Larry and Sherry gave us a really helpful tool. It's called Mad, Sad, Glad, Hurt, Ashamed, Afraid. And it goes like this. Let's say I see Nancy looking sad or hurt, then I will say, what's wrong? Nothing, I'm fine. Are you mad, sad, glad, hurt, ashamed, afraid? She says, well, I'm a little hurt. I go, why? She says, well, at church, you thought you were being funny, and so you were making a little joke at my expense, and so I feel hurt. And I say, you're right, I'm wrong. I was not thinking, and will you please forgive me? I will try to do better going forward. She forgives me, and we go. So we have learned how to keep short accounts with one another so that we don't have major problems. Lastly, I would just say one of my life verses is Galatians 2:20, because I cannot live the Christian life in my own strength. It says, I am crucified with Christ, nevertheless I live, yet not I, but Christ lives in me, and the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. Thank you very much.